Hello, good morning. How's it going? Just like my stage. Hello. We were having technical difficulties. Sorry for the delay. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Cherise. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Pauline. I'm well. I think. I think I'm well. Mr. Todd could not get his Wi-Fi up and running, so we had to reschedule. My guest was unable to make it due to technological issues. But that's fine. I'm always good at improvising. Making it work regardless. Hello. Nice to see you all. Welcome, welcome. How's everything been going? What have you guys been up to? Hi, Brittany. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Helen. Hi, Pam. Hi, Chantal. Nice to see you, love. Hi, Karen. Good morning, Donna. Both Donnas. We got both Donnas commenting at the same time. Hi, Amy. Yes, Ava. Technology's been, don't even get me started. We're not even in Mercury retrograde yet. But then again, in Todd's defense, he does live in the Canadian wilderness, basically. And there's not much backup plans for Wi-Fi if it goes down. I'm glad to hear Neo's surgery went well, Michelle. How did everybody sleep last night? Did you guys sleep? I could barely sleep. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning when I finally managed to get my ass to sleep. I don't know what came over me. I was really struggling to sleep last night. I had a rough couple days. Anybody else been having a rough couple days? Just finishing up my coffee because I'm still half awake. Happy Thursday, Cynthia. Is it the full moon? Seriously, is that what's the problem right now? Is that what we're dealing with? Is that why? Patrick? Hold on, I'm checking. Oh, okay. Yes. I see now. Yeah. All right. Because the last 2 days I've been sleeping like shit. Now I know why. Thank you, Patrick. I didn't even think about it. It says we're in the full beaver moon right now. It's the beaver moon. Yes. Love it. Sophie says I actually slept good for once. Had to be like a horse though. I've been really feeling dehydrated as well. I feel you on that, Sophie. Yep. Definitely needing more hydration. Solar flares. I know, Amy. Beaver moon. Love it. Just reading through the comments. I was waiting for Daniel Jackson. Daniel Jackson just says insert beaver joke here. I set it up for you, bud. Been feeling cramped lately. Good morning, Wade. Nice to see you. Thank you, Wade. Anybody have any interesting revelations? Anything rising to the surface, calling to be healed yet? I don't know about you guys, but I've had a crazy couple days, which is why I really need this coffee right now. Look how full my coffee is. Like, we are not playing around today. It has been a bumpy ride. Energetically, people have been feeling a bit ruffled. It's a good way of putting it. All of our feathers are being ruffled a little bit energetically. How have you guys been feeling? I've had a couple people book emergencies. And guess what guess it actually happened 2 times in 2 days, which is really making me wonder what's going on. Somebody woke up. They were in like that half waking state, half, dream state. And they woke up and saw there was an entity standing at the foot of their bed. And they were like cloaked. They had like a cloak on them. And they were like, whoa, what is this? And they booked a clearing. And so we just checked. We were curious as to what it was. And it was a watcher. Watchers they're not good. They're not bad. They just watch. They're a bit voyeur like that, I guess. I guess that's their kink. Kudos. But the watchers, they're not human. I was chatting with Zach about it last night after we found one, because I was like, so what was the hooded figure? And he goes, oh, that was a watcher. And I said, what was it doing? And he goes, it was watching. And I'm like, watching what? Like, what is the purpose of being a watcher? And they said, well, they just watch. That's just what they do. They're very nosy like that. He goes, if you ever see one, you don't be afraid, because they're not going to try and hurt you or anything. You just tell them to fuck off. You say, get out of my room. Sometimes you can sense them without seeing them. They are kind of creepy, just because, somebody being in your home watching you is creepy in itself. So this person messaged me and she was like, can you see what the hell that was? And I was like, yeah, sure. And that's what it was. It was a watcher. So thank you to Zach for explaining a little bit about watchers last night, because I was a bit curious myself, going, what the hell? There's things that just come into your house and watch you? Yeah, they do. They take observe, do not absorb to the next level. No kidding, Cherise. Yep, no kidding. So it has been, and I asked the guides, I was like, how come she could see it? Like, normally people can't see these, right? And he's like, yeah, normally people don't see them. I was like, so how did she see it? And they said the veil was just very thin. Amma says, what's the difference between watchers and shadow people? I love that Amma and I think the same, because I asked that same question. So watchers are interdimensional. Shadow people are galactic. So watchers are interdimensional. That means they hop between dimensions and frequencies and timelines and all kinds of stuff. Whereas the others, we call them shadow people. They're the ones that have like the hats. They got like capes and stuff, and like you can almost see, like they have like a silhouette that you see, and it kind of, we've had a few superheroes that have similar. Yeah, Brittany, no joke. These are a real thing. There are real beings that walk around, and the watchers are, like I said, they're interdimensional, but the hat people, also known as, what are they called? A lot of people call them different names, but they're the Hat Man is one of them. Yes, those are the ones that come from the constellation Mensa. So they do come in every once in a while just to be nosy as well. So they both kind of watch, but the galactic ones are more troublesome than the interdimensional ones. So I said something to Zach. I was like, how come you don't mention shadow people? He's like, oh, yeah, we see them when we do clearings. And I said, well, what do you do? Do you clear them? And he's like, no, we just send them on their way. That's why we don't bother mentioning them. And I was like, you better start mentioning them. I want to know if you see shadow people. Like, that sounds very interesting. This is something I would like to know. But usually when things go missing and they don't reappear, like the Fae like to take your stuff. The Fae love to do that. They just mess with you. They take your stuff and they enjoy messing with people for fun. But shadow people will just take whatever they want. They're just like, oh, you know what? I like this. This is mine now. Thank you. Bye. And they leave with your shit and they don't bring it back. Jessica said, so the guy who popped in on Cat during the LSR during the wormhole, that was a watcher? No, technically that wasn't a watcher either. That was a time traveler. I know. I know. I know how that sounds too. I asked Zach about it later on because we were curious. We're like, who was that? Why did he just pop in? Because the funny thing is, when you time travel, especially people from the future looking back on now, because people do that all the time. People from the future are very curious about right now because this is the turning point. This is when we made the big shift. So it's like they're checking in on just to see what they can observe during this time. So they get very curious, time travelers, and they don't pop in like physically. They can just literally pop in their head. That's it. And that's what that guy did. He just popped in with his head. And he was, the funniest part about it was that he wasn't expecting anybody to be able to see him, because most of the time these interdimensional beings are aware that we can't see 4D. So he popped into 4D like, "Ooh, what's going on here?" And Kat's like, "Oh, who the fuck are you?" And he was like, "Bah!" Like, we scared the shit out of him, and he disappeared. And we were a bit like, "Who is that?" And that's why we asked, and that's what he told us. That was just a time traveler being nosy, just popping his head in, going, "Hmm," and then disappearing again. I know how I sound saying that. I don't care anymore. Denise says, one of my dogs detect energy as soon as possible. Yes, no kidding. If your animals are seeing something that you can't see. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Jessica says Cat was about to wring his neck through the hole. Yes, she was. She was not appreciating that one bit. Oh, it's really funny. We said something to Zach. We're like, what were his intentions? He was just being nosy. And we're like, oh, okay. So he wasn't like anything bad. And he goes, oh, no. He wasn't anything bad. In fact, you scared him more than he scared you. This is really funny. Don't go being nosy, time travelers, because we'll get you. So no, those are different. You have, like I said, you have the interdimensional ones, you have the galactic ones, and then you have the future human ones that'll just pop in. So when I say you are never alone and you never know who's just going to pop in and see you and what you're doing, you just never know. One of my cats looks at the ceiling a lot and is the skittish type. Lots of cats look at the ceiling, and I think that they're looking either at portals or interdimensional insects, because keep in mind that pets love insects. And if they see something, they're going to try and chase it. So many times, if your pet is acting like they're seeing something crawling around, they probably are. They're just seeing an interdimensional critter. There's a lot of those interdimensional critters around. So I completely forgot to share the Lost Soul Rescue from the other day, and I am so sorry about it. I didn't realize it until 10 minutes before the podcast. So I will be sharing that as soon as I get off of here. Sorry about that, because it's a really good one. The one from Halloween is really good, and I'm kicking myself for not posting it until now, but I've just been so busy. We have been catching up. I'm almost to the 3-week mark with clearings. So thank you to those who've been really patient with me as we got really inundated with bookings, especially while I was in Salem. Let's see. Just reading through. Do you really believe all this stuff? Like, really experience it for yourself? Yeah. Why do you think I got so confident in all of this, Sandy? I didn't just deal with this shit in this lifetime. I've been dealing with this shit in many lifetimes. So no, I 1,000% believe in all of this. You know what's funny is I wish I was crazy. If that was true, if I was actually crazy, this planet would be in a lot better shape than it is. But unfortunately, no. I unfortunately am not making any of this shit up. I wish I was. You know how sick I am of reptilians? If I could send them all off world immediately with a snap of a finger like Thanos, I would. I would do it. I would do it without a doubt. So this is why I say, like, these are the kind of things that we need to discuss, because this is the future. You may think I'm crazy now, but you won't in a few years when these things become common knowledge, when they become everywhere. Because as I mentioned at the very beginning of our chat today, there were 2 of my clients that could see the astral. 2 of them saw entities in their home. And I said something to Zach about it. I was like, so she was like, she actually just woke up and saw a beastie standing at the end of her bed. And he said, oh, yeah. And I said, wow, that must have been unsettling. He goes, yeah, well, at least she knows what it is, and she didn't get alarmed. There's a lot of people in this world that are going to have no clue as to what they're seeing when the veil keeps getting thinner and thinner. There's going to be all kinds of stuff that we think is completely bullshit, and then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, coming to face with it. I had to see a reptilian to believe it. I did. I didn't want to believe it either. So I'm in the same boat, Sandy. I get it. Seeing is believing. I had to see before I was able to believe it. So just stick around for a while and some crazy shit will happen and then you'll believe us. That's usually what happens in this community, right, you guys? Where they'll be like, oh, Laura's just saying some shit. And then sure enough, like a month or two later, they'll be like, oh my God, I just saw it in a personal experience. She was telling the truth. This is a real thing. Yes, it is. So, oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm sorry about your fur baby. Sending you so much love. Carolyn says, I'm past caring if I'm crazy. I'm just having a great time. Love that. Amen to that, Carolyn. So what's going to happen to the Lizzies after the shift? Are they going to self-deport because they can't pull their shit? Or are they going to have to battle? Well, I did ask the guides this. I said, if we were in the same frequency, because remember, as I said, they've got that analogy about the frequencies, right? And we've been doing this for a long time with the frequencies. So our vibration has been down here. Their vibration is up here. 5D is like up here. Okay. So they're in the middle. We got to pass through their frequency as we're going up to 5D. That means at some point, yeah, we're going to be in the same frequency. When you're in the same frequency, you can see, you can hear, you can touch. You're finally locked into it. It's like your brain is the receiver, right? And their frequencies around you, if you're not in the same frequency, you're not going to pick it up. Your brain isn't going to receive that information. So if you're in the same frequency, which we are going to be at some point, you will be able to see them. You will be able to smell them. I can already smell them. I'm telling you, you're not missing much. They smell. Anybody smell like an old reptile, like a reptile cage? Anybody have any pet iguanas or anything? That's what they smell like to me. Like this nasty, musty, mildewy smell. Like a reptile cage that has been cleaned in a while. So people will have to come to terms with the fact that they are very much real. And you will see. Nancy says, I Googled your name and an old Reddit post came up. The post had me giggling. We're in a cult and you are our leader. Yes, I saw that old Reddit post. That Reddit post claims that I am the reincarnation of Dolores Cannon as well. I don't know what the original poster was smoking when they wrote that, but clearly they were on something. No, I am not the reincarnation of Dolores Cannon. In fact, she's one of my guides. People just say ridiculous things and run with it. I was already in my 30s when she died. So just to put that into perspective of the ridiculousness. I did know Dolores in a past life. Dolores and I shared a past life in Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria. So she and I knew each other in a past life, but we did not know each other in this life because I did not start working for her family until a couple years after she passed away. You're not missing much, Ariana. It's nonsense. There's lots of nonsense. Chantal says, I've seen that Reddit. You've seen everything, Chantal. Nothing gets past you. I've seen the Heidi Klum costume. Yes, that was something else. Well, there's 111 people watching right now. So the last couple days, I don't know if you guys have been able to tell, I was going to save this story for Monday, but considering what I've been going through the last 2 days, and since there's over 100 people telling me, I don't really have to tell the story twice. I don't really want to tell the story twice because of how emotional it makes me, which is kind of why I was planning to put it off till Monday, but now all of a sudden we have this surprise solo chat. You guys want to hear the Fergus story? Sorry, Fergus. I know he's standing right next to me. I can feel it. So I found out the context from my past lives with one of my soul guides. For those of you who remember, who've been watching for a while now, when I went to Scotland, every year I pretty much go to Scotland. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. It just feels like I'm going home. And I didn't really understand why until I So this is an emotional story for me, you guys. So I'm just trying to collect myself here. So last summer, I rented a car and I drove all over Inverness. I just felt like it. I don't know why. I just felt very drawn to that area. And I just drove around. I literally just drove around Loch Ness, Inverness, that sort of area. And I felt very connected to that place. In fact, I felt really sad leaving it. Like I was leaving something behind and I didn't really understand what that was. So when I went this past summer, so a year later, so this is when I went for my 40th birthday. I couldn't, it's crazy. I had some money saved up and I pretty much could have gone anywhere in the world if I'd wanted to for my 40th birthday. And I just wanted to go home. So I booked a flight to Scotland and we did as many clearings as we possibly could. I had some friends. My wonderful friend Carolyn was assisting, and Adriana and a few others. And we would travel around Edinburgh and around Scotland to cross over as many earthbounds as we could. And there was one location. Whew, I'm getting emotional right now just thinking about it. Oh man, I should have grabbed some tissues. So there was one place that I was really determined to clear, even though I knew it was going to be a tough one. It was going to be a big one. But with Kat coming in and joining us, I knew we had a big enough team to do it. So I asked Carolyn and Kat if they wouldn't mind sitting down and helping me to cross over the souls at Culloden. I sat down in my friend Marcella's yard, put my laptop in the grass, and I connected to Gaia's energy, and I felt that energy at Culloden. And when we went to tune into that space, I didn't even remember saying this until I went and watched the recording the other day, again, months later, that I said to my guide, Charlie, I said, Charlie, there's somebody on this field. I have a loved one on this field. Please help me find him. And I don't know where that came from. I don't even remember saying it. And I just said it out loud to Charlie. I said, please help me find him. And we cleared Culloden. We crossed over thousands of souls. I don't remember how many exactly. I think it was 5,000 plus souls in that space. In fact, there were even like druids and people that had been there for so long stuck. I mean, we're talking, they get stuck in the layers, right? So we clearing all of these layers. And the next thing I know, I see this man standing in front of me. He's dressed in full Highland gear, like full Highland dress, even with the knee-high socks and the flat cap and everything. And I see him standing there. And as I see him standing there, I burst into tears. I lost it. I started sobbing in the recording. And I didn't know who he was. I just knew that there was this, this connection that I felt really, really strongly. And I didn't understand why I felt that connection because I didn't know who he was. I just felt a really strong connection to him. So they said, you have somebody who would like to be one of your guides. Would you accept? And I said, yeah, because I could see him. I see this very handsome Highlander man standing in front of me. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So he's been my guide ever since. And this was like around, like I said, right back in May. And I've known that he came in to be a gatekeeper. I knew that he was here to protect me. And that's all I really knew. I knew that he died at Culloden, and that was it. And for some reason, I just said, don't be too nosy. You learn when it's your time to learn what your connection is, right? So I was very patient and I just waited. I wanted to know what our connection was. Well, as I mentioned, I had a chat with, okay, so going back a little bit, I wanted to know his name. So I said one day, I wonder what my Highlander guide's name is. And I heard the name Fergus pop into my head and I burst out laughing immediately. I was like, there's no way I made up the name Fergus out of all of the things that pop into my head. There's no way I made that up. And then a week or so later, I kept hearing the name Mackenzie in my head. And I was like, why am I hearing Mackenzie? And then I had this epiphany. And I said to Carolyn, we sat down to work one day, I said, can you just ask Fergus if his last name was Mackenzie? And she goes, yeah, it was. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, holy shit. Okay. I was really hearing his last name. He was trying to tell me his last name. So I started digging a little bit. I was curious about the Mackenzies. Found out that they hunted witches in Scotland. Not all of them, obviously, but they were known for it. It's a long story as to why they were so involved in the witch hunts, but it wasn't in a good way. So I'm learning about this Mackenzie history, and I'm very curious about, just Culloden and how I ended up there. Well, the other day I sat down to chat with Angelica. I had a beautiful chat with Angelica and Siddhartha. And Siddhartha and I were just chit-chatting as friends, and he said, your one guide is very, very protective over you. And I said, who? And he goes, the one carrying the sword, Fergus. And I said, oh, yes, he's very protective over me. And he goes, do you know why he's so protective? And I said, no. And he goes, that's worth exploring. So I was like, okay. Is that the universe's way of telling me like I'm okay, I can learn the story now? So I was like, all right, so I'm just curious. So I sat down with Adriana, and this is one of the probably the best perk of working with somebody who reads the Akashic Records. Adriana is so wonderful and so helpful in regards to just helping me to understand some of my past trauma. Nathalie said, so you've had at least 2 past lives in Scotland. I've had at least like 6 that I can count of. And yes, I was burned as a witch there too. So I asked Adriana how I knew Fergus. I knew he died at Culloden. That was all I knew. And this is the part that really, this is the thing that I learned 2 days ago that has been having me in a bit of a state ever since. So Fergus was, Fergus came to Culloden a few months before the battle. Many soldiers were gathering there. They were preparing for the battle. There was like an 8-month waiting period between battles, between Prestonpans and Culloden. So they had to move their army somewhere. So for several months, they moved them up north, and they were keeping them in that area near Culloden. And Fergus was stationed there, and he was living in a tent not far from where the battle was fought. And I was there. I was working as a young maiden who was carrying buckets of water and food with the other ladies. There's a whole lot of ladies who lived in the village nearby, and we would come to bring food and water and things to the soldiers who were encamped. And they were starved pretty much to the point where they were getting, their rations were 3 biscuits a day, 3 little cookie things a day for a full-grown man. Fergus, just for the record, was a very big guy in general. He was like 6'3", really, really big shoulders. And when we met, apparently, I was really kind of smitten with him. This big burly man, big ginger Scotsman, this very, very strong. I was making big goo eyes at Fergus for sure. He was unmarried, and we just kind of hit it off. He was in his mid 40s ish, and I was in my mid 20s. So I was considerably younger than him anyway, but I mean, that didn't deter me one bit. I was very much interested in Fergus. So I would be like sneaking over all the time to go and talk to him. I would bring him extra food, and I would make sure that he was getting just anyway, you know what they say about the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Well, Fergus and he was very gentlemanly, but we fell for each other. And when he was leaving for battle, I got very, very emotional. I made him an amulet. I made him a gift as a protection gift. And after Adriana told me the story, I actually started to have flashbacks when I was trying to sleep, going to bed. And I could see the gift that I gave him, and I could see the moment of me saying goodbye. He gave me a really big hug, and he gave me a kiss on the forehead, and he went off to battle. And for those of you who don't know the history, Culloden was an absolute bloodbath. In the course of about an hour, they killed every Highlander on that field. All of them, including Fergus. And there were many people who were still bleeding out on the field and dying. There were thousands, just a sea of people everywhere. And hundreds of them were calling out for help and were dying, and they needed help. And so there were very, very few people around. In fact, nobody medically trained, nothing. So I went into that field looking for him. It took me 4 days to find his body. And in that 4 days, I walked that field, turning bodies over and looking at every face in that field. Ugh. I saw every dead body on that field, and I saw every one of their faces looking for Fergus. And on the 4th day, I found him. Fergus said I was lucky they didn't kill me because there were so many vultures, so many human vultures walking around and taking things off of the dead. And they said that they were very lucky that I wasn't killed by those people because I was in a state. I was screaming and yelling, and I was cursing people, and I was cursing the army. And when I found Fergus, I remember I had a flashback to finding his body, and I howled like a wounded animal. And I begged for people to pull him out of the... they were just throwing bodies in pits, and I didn't want him to be thrown in a pit. So I screamed and yelled, and I begged, and nobody would help me. So I carried his body out of that field myself. I wrapped him in my skirt, and I dragged him out of the field. And I made sure that he got a proper burial. He was buried alone. He was buried on his own with proper burial rites. And as I see this in my mind's eye, as Adriana is telling me this, I'm getting all these flashbacks. I could see their faces. I could see the piles. There were dead horses everywhere. There were people everywhere. It was just blood and mud and colors everywhere. Just a sea of it. And I turned them over and I looked at every single one of their faces for 4 days looking for Fergus until I found him. And I thought to myself, what is wrong with you? Why would you spend 4 days? And it wasn't until I really felt into it, until I sat there and really felt into it. And then I realized I was hoping to find him alive. And I wasn't going to give up until I did. But I didn't. So I sat down with Adriana and I'm talking to her all about this. And Adriana and I are both sobbing. We're like crying as we go through all this. And I said, I can't believe I searched for 4 days. And Fergus was just, he said, hope is a very powerful thing. And it was very hard for me to walk away without knowing whether or not he was dead. And I fought tooth and nail to make sure that he was given proper burial rites. Everyone in that field thought I was nuts. They thought I was completely batshit crazy. And to be honest, I probably looked it, considering what I was covered in, the mud and the blood I was covered in, and I turning over all of those bodies. So as I'm trying to sleep, I could start seeing their faces. And I'm like, no. And I started pulling the thoughts out. I'm like, nope. I don't want to see their faces. No, I'm not trying to re-traumatize myself. I kept hearing Zach in my head going, stop digging up dead bodies, Laura. Thinking on the past is only digging up dead bodies. You don't want to do that because it just re-triggers the trauma. But now I've started to realize that trauma has been here this whole time. I just didn't find a way to release it until, I watched Outlander. Anybody seen Outlander? There's a scene in Outlander with Culloden, and when I started to even get close to that scene in the episodes, I stopped watching. I skipped it. And now I know why. This was 10 years ago. I couldn't look at it. And I had no idea why I couldn't watch the Culloden battle. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. And I waited months to watch a new episode. I skipped it completely. I refused to watch it. And I had no idea why. I think they were trying to protect me from the trauma that I wouldn't have understood watching it. When I finally did watch it a couple months ago with Fergus, it was probably one of the most difficult things I'd ever watched. And I didn't understand why until now. So I was there. I was on Culloden battlefield. I saw almost every face of every soldier that died on Culloden battlefield. All of them. So we talk about clearing up the layers of trauma that we have buried in our subconscious. Well, holy shit. So I asked Adriana if Fergus wanted to tell me anything as we were disconnecting, and she just said, you know, he just wants you to know that he loved you very much, and he was hoping that he fought extra hard that day thinking that he had somebody waiting for him, somebody worth fighting for, and he wanted to have a full life with you if he had survived, and unfortunately we didn't have that opportunity. And when he told me that, I got so mad. And I'm like, you have been stuck there for 300 years. Think of how much opportunity we could have had to get to know each other in the next life. But we couldn't because he was stuck. You know what Zach told me? I think it was Zach. Might have been Adriana. I don't remember. They said, Laura, you knew that he was stuck there, and that's why you made this plan. You knew when you were in between, when you were planning this next lifetime, you knew that he was still stuck. And that's why you made this plan to go and get him. And that is why on your 40th birthday, there was nowhere else in the world that you wanted to be but there. And that's why as soon as he appeared to you, I just lost it. And I had no idea why. I had no idea who this man was consciously, but my body remembered. My heart remembered completely because so I asked one final question. I said, is Fergus a veteran? Or is he an Earthseed? He's a veteran. And I asked where he's from, and they said he's Engan. And I knew it. I knew he was Engan. I could feel that he was Engan. I knew it anyway. So I said, does he get to go home? No. There's more karma to balance. He's not allowed to leave yet. So we're still being denied a life together even after this one because I get to leave and he doesn't. So yeah, this is what I've been going through the last couple days. Thank you for holding space and allowing me to tell you my story. And now you understand my connection. So Adriana and I had a fun game though. We were messing around and I was trying with AI to recreate Fergus. And we created like 20 images trying to come up with Fergus because it was very hard. This is Fergus. This is what he looks like. So for those of you who are, I don't know if you can see that properly, there's Fergus. That's as close as we could get it. Thank you for holding space while I told you my my big, messy, traumatizing story. I love you guys. I'm very glad that I have Fergus with me again. I've been waiting 300 years to have him with me again. So it may not be in the physical, but at least he's around. Love you, Fergus. So anyway, that was my big messy story that I was going to tell Monday, but now today was the day instead. Does he get to take a body after he's done being your guide? I have no idea. I was kind of hoping, and I didn't get a chance to ask this question. I was kind of hoping that you can balance karma as a soul guide. Right? Maybe there is a way. Maybe you don't actually have to incarnate in order to balance the last remaining bits of karma. Who knows? But the thought that I am leaving after this life and he is not was, I must admit, gut-wrenching when I heard it. So we all have this, though. We all have grief. We all have some kind of a loss in a past life that we are still grieving that we don't even know about. And I must admit, even though I have been an emotional mess the last 2 days because of it, as I integrate and heal this, and Zach said all of these emotions are going to come rising to the surface, especially as you start having flashbacks. And holy shit, those flashbacks were really intense. Like the last time I saw Fergus, and when he kissed me on the forehead, when he ran off, oh my God, I lost it. That flashback got me so good. I cried for like 20 minutes, like big blubbering tears. Ugh. It would be nice. Carolyn said he's very happy and honored to be your guide. Thank you, Carolyn. I imagine this is a little weird for him too. Like it's been 300 years. Last thing he knows, he died in a battle and there's like horses everywhere. And then 300 years later, he's been rescued by the young girl that fed him biscuits. The girl that fed him biscuits has now saved him. And now he's chasing reptilians and demons to try and protect her. Like, what a weird sci-fi movie I exist in. Oh, you didn't realize the price of those biscuits, did you, Fergus? Mm. That Taurus super full moon is contributing to this too, bringing up all that needs to be healed and processed. Yes, Jessica, exactly. Marissa said, could Fergus be alive elsewhere? No, that is something I found out the other day, which I assumed completely wrong. As I mentioned the other day on the podcast, I think it was Monday, I mentioned that I assumed in the past that, you know, if you're still earthbound, there's going to be other versions of you that can be manifested. It's like you have a higher self. What's the higher self? What's your problem? Like, okay, this one is indisposed at the moment. Just make another one. No, it doesn't work that way. If one is earthbound, they don't make more versions of you. You're stuck till you're rescued. So no, you don't reincarnate if you're stuck somewhere. So no, Fergus was not reincarnating since then. This was from the moment he died on the battlefield, the next thing he knows, he's being pulled out of the battlefield by us 300 years later. He didn't know anything else. He's been stuck in that battlefield. And what happens in a battlefield death loop? You die, you come back. It's like you respawn. You fall, you get back up. You fall, you get back up. You just keep doing it over and over again without knowing that you're dying when you go down, because you just get back up again. And you get stuck in that. As we were talking about last week with Randall. Randall Smith is one of my favorite guests. Randall was explaining, Randall also clears battlefields, and he was explaining that there's usually like some kind of head honcho on the field that is kind of directing the other earthbounds and kind of like leading the show, so to speak. And if you can pull him out, the others start to wake up from it. So, but no, there were thousands and thousands of soldiers still fighting on that battlefield until we pulled them out of there. Yes, he's pulled out of the loop now. He's standing right next to me now. I can feel him standing there. He's on my right side right now, as I can literally feel him standing there now. And the more I talk to him, the more I build our connection, the more I'm sensitive to his energy, the more I can kind of pick up what he's putting out, so to speak. Some people can never understand. So glad we can share this story with you. Many of us have weird stories like that too. Thank you, Pam. Could Fergus take an NPC body to have an Earth experience? Isn't anything possible? I never say never about anything. Anytime I use the word impossible, the universe is like, hold my beer. Let me prove her wrong really quick. So no, I don't say any more. Impossible is not in my vocabulary. So Marissa says it's in another dimension. So think of like a mixed drink. I just had a mixed drink pop in my head. You know how they do those mixed drinks in bars, right? Where you have the different colors, the different layers of beverage, right? Because each one is a certain density and they can kind of sit and float on top of each other because they're different densities, right? That's exactly what reality is doing. You have 3D that we are locked into, right? That's why this is 3D, right? Yeah. But there's other things around us that exist that are just slightly out of phase with this frequency, which means that it's not physical to us currently, but doesn't mean it's not there. There's stuff around us all the time, but most of the time we aren't able to perceive it because it's not locked into the same frequency that we are. So as I said, remember about the frequencies, right? So if something is locked into the same frequency, you may see it, you may hear it, you may touch it. But if one is slightly lower in frequency, you're doing this. You can't see it or hear it. It's completely out of dimension, out of frequency with you. So when we are down here, 4D is usually here, and then 5D is up here, right? So we're here. 4D is here. So all of your loved ones and things that you're trying to see are here. So we're at a mismatch in frequency. They're invisible to us, to the naked eye. But as we deal with the shift, as our frequency goes up more and more, we start to match their frequency. And when we match their frequency, you may see, you may hear, you may touch. But as soon as we start going up, then to 5D, which would be up here, so to speak, 4D is now left behind. And then you become out of phase with 4D. Okay? So all the shit that exists in 4D, all the demonics and reptilians and other beasties, for them, because they are locked into 4D, 4D is physical for them. So it's not physical for us because we're not locked into the same frequency. You have to be locked into the same frequency for it to appear physical. So when we get up to 5D, we will be locked into the 5D frequency and we will be able to see and hear and interact with things in that higher frequency. Does that make sense? Are you guys all getting that now? Selena says, do you know your name was when you met Fergus? I believe it was Jenna. That was one of the flashbacks that came to me, was him calling my name. I think it was Jenna. Yeah. I didn't have that validated. That was one of the downloads that I got. However, I went to Adriana and I asked about my downloads and she said, yeah, those were all real. In fact, she was the one that told me what I gave Fergus. I remember that I gave him something, but I couldn't remember what it was. And she goes, it was an amulet that you made yourself, a protection amulet. And he was very, very touched by that somebody really wanted him to make it off that battlefield. And he fought extra hard to make it back. And I was like, oh, oh. I still kind of feel like a Jenna sometimes. So maybe yeah, I think that was my name. You can ask these things during your Akashic Record session. Guess you'll need to change your plans of having another life here and plan it together. It doesn't work that way. You know what's funny? Adriana and I had a conversation about this as Evanon, as Adriana's other alter ego, I should say. The version of her that's in a pod. This is my one chance. This lifetime, you don't even want to know how many resources, how many people, how many galactic races had to come together to get my stubborn ass to awaken and to make sure that I knew who I am If I come back into another body, I lose all that. Another human body, anyway. I would lose all of that progress I just made by starting over. This is part of the frustration with being human. So, no, this is my one chance to get out of here. I can't have any attachments. And that's fine. Honestly, it is what it is. I have been stuck here for 12,600 years. I'm getting out of here. I may come back again later on after the shift as somebody else in a different vessel, but I certainly don't want to come back as human again. No offense to my human vessel. I'm just tired of having to reset every 75 years with no memories. That's probably what is the biggest, most challenging part of being human. Which is kind of funny because I've gotten into arguments with the guides about this. The guides were like, you don't need to know that. And I'm like, bullshit, I don't need to know that. That is a memory that I should have already had. Thank you very much. Like, you got to keep all of your memories. You remember being a fucking rabbit like a million years ago, and I can't remember what happened in my last lifetime? Seriously? You remember lifetimes from like 50,000 years ago, and you have the entire memory in your subconscious. And yet they're like, sorry, can't tell you about that one thing from your lifetime like yesterday. No, it's not fair. We humans want to know all the things. And it's not just because we have an insatiable curiosity. So, no, the guides make it sound like, oh, you don't need to know. Well, it's easy for you to say. You already know all the things. I feel like somebody who's trying to recover from amnesia. That's what it feels like to me. Every time I go to remember another version of myself, no matter who it is, I keep thinking like it's just unfair that I don't remember all this. And then I get mad. I'm like, it pisses me off that I don't remember. And then I go back and I realize all the shit that I did in the past, such as looking at a sea of thousands of dead bodies for 4 days straight. And then I think, okay, maybe it wasn't a good thing to retain all of that information. Maybe it is a good thing to let go of some of these memories. Some of these memories can go. I don't think I need that in my subconscious. So it's catch-22. We're like, shit, do I want to remember this? Do I not want to remember this? So if I had to choose now to, forget what I remember about from the last few days, to lose my connection, then no, I would rather remember. I would rather have the memory and know more about the context and about who I am and to heal the trauma than to just forget it. I feel like forgetting it would be the easy way out. And maybe for some that works better, but for me, I'd rather heal it and transmute it and use it than just erase it. But wouldn't that be nice if, like Total Recall, you could pick and choose memories and be like, oh, no, God. Oh, like, nope, that one can go. Thank you. But then you're like, okay, that's a really good memory. That is a really important one. I'm going to keep that one. But how many memories would we keep just for sentimental value? Probably most of them. I keep all kinds of shit. I have rocks I found like 12 years ago for sentimental value. So I'd probably be keeping most of my memories anyway, just being like, well, I might need this later. Like a memory hoarder. Lori says, I just want to know who or what is meaningful in this lifetime. I guess everything is. If it's your last lifetime, then everything would be meaningful, right? Jessica says you can store it in bottles like Harry Potter. Well, you know what's interesting? We helped somebody not too long ago. I don't even remember his name. He just popped up. Somebody went missing in Syracuse, New York. I saw his face. I got chills. I was like, okay, Adriana, can we just do a quick pro bono and see if this guy is crossed over? I can't remember who it was that helped me. I think it was Adriana. Anyway, I just said, can we cross this guy over? And they said, yeah, we can cross him over. Just some random guy that was murdered. And so when we checked him, I was like, can we return all soul fragments? And they said, well, actually, some of his soul fragments aren't ready to be integrated until after he goes to the healing place. And I'm like, okay, well, what can we do for him? And they said, we're putting them in a basket. I was like, what? They said, yeah, We're going to put them in a basket. We'll put all the soul fragments, the ones that he can't reintegrate right now because he's not fully healed yet. We'll put them in a basket, and then we'll take the basket with him to the healing place. And then after he's done the healing in the healing place, he can reintegrate the soul fragments in the basket. And I was like, okay, if that works. Apparently you can collect soul fragments and take it with you like a little Red Riding Hood basket. How interesting. So maybe if you're not able to take things back until later to reintegrate later, you can start to do those things. Who knows? It's very interesting the way that spirit works. Daniel Jackson says, if it is your last time, a sure sign is that people cannot even conceive the love that is contained with you, is all I can say. Oh, I love you, Daniel Jackson. Thank you guys for listening to my very big emotional story today. I'm still kind of processing and unpacking and going through the layers of emotions as they come up. Like certain songs. I was listening to a random Jerry Cinnamon song last night. Jerry Cinnamon is my favorite Scottish actor or Scottish singer. If you've never heard a Jerry Cinnamon song, you have to go and listen to some Jerry Cinnamon today. I love him so much. And just a random song came on the radio with Jerry and I started crying. So there's a lot of emotions rising to the surface. Make sure you be patient with each other right now. Make sure you're patient with yourself. Any emotions that come and rise up to the surface, don't ignore them. Don't try to brush them off. Don't try to bury them or suppress them. Feel them out. Feel into them. Sit in them for a while until you can release them and let them go. Because it's really important right now. It's rising up to be healed. That means instead of burying it, you're supposed to transmute it, heal it, let it go. So I will, I tell you what, somebody just said, can you share a Jerry Cinnamon song? I'll share my favorite one. There we go. Just that. Here we go. The very first Jerry Cinnamon song I ever heard was called Belter. Somebody sent it to me and they said, Laura, you're a belter. And I was like, is that a good thing? And they're like, yeah. And they said, this is the song. And they sent me the song. And that's why I was like, okay. That's my favorite Jerry Cinnamon song. I just shared it in the comments. There's one that I've been playing for Fergus. The one that made me cry is called War Torn Soldier. You'll see it up there if you go and look. I love you guys. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I am not going to be on the podcast tomorrow because I have 6 hours of training tomorrow, 6 hours of SRT training on Friday, and 6 hours on Saturday. In fact, we might even go a little over because for the last couple of days, I've been sneaking more information into the class. So I'm even putting more, because every time I do another class, I mean, we do these every 6 months. And during that 6-month period, I'm taking notes. I'm keeping up with all the knowledge that I keep getting from the guides. And as our knowledge increases, I sneak it into the class to kind of beef it up and put more and more info in there. So every time I do this class, there's added info. So there's going to be at least 6-7 hours of class tomorrow and 6-7 hours of class on Saturday. So there's no Astara tomorrow. There's no nothing tomorrow except class. So I'm sorry, there's no LSR, there's no nothing. Yeah. We have assessments today. I was going to do an LSR, but we have an assessment today for a new medium. We have another person who might be coming up as a medium in our academy. So excited. So yeah, we're very chuffed and very proud of how fast our students are. I mean, it's only been 6 months since our last class, and this will be the second, possibly even next week, we might even have a third new medium getting certification. So yes, there's all kinds. You guys are rapidly advancing in ways that I was not even expecting. So I'm so proud of you guys. You've been doing amazing. And I can't wait for this next wave of students to come in and join us. And, we have probably between about 20 and 30 students that sit in with us every Saturday. And that number will soon double. So we'll have way more students coming in and joining us for practice sessions and for hangouts. And I can't wait till you guys meet them. What an exciting time to be here. Yay. So I love you all. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I can't wait to see some of you in class tomorrow. If you are interested in taking the class with us, remember you don't have to, this is not the certification portion, although both are important. Okay. So SRT 1 teaches you about everything we have in your reports. Everything. We go into earthbounds. I spend at least an hour or two going into earthbounds and entities and curses, chords, contracts, soul fragments, you name it, all the things. So if you really want a deeper understanding of your report and what we clear, this is a really great opportunity for you to learn. And I will teach you everything I know about all this stuff. The second portion, which is going to be in, I think it's going to be the first week of December because I'm going to visit Adriana in Grenada in 2 weeks. So when I get back from that, I have 1 week off, and then we're going to do the second round of certification training. So for those of you interested in the certification, just be aware that part 1 is mandatory for certification. You need both part 1 and part 2. But if you're not interested in doing this work, if you just want to learn about what we clear from people, then part 1 is all you need. Part 2 is where you'd be doing the work that I'm doing, where you'd be sitting down to work with soul guides to chase beasties. And there's a lot that involves that. So SRT 2 is also a weekend long class where both days it's going to be between 6 and 7 hours. So for SRT 1, it's about 12 to 14 hours of training. For SRT 2, it will be another 12 to 14 hours of training. All right. So this is a career that we're teaching you guys, just to put it into perspective. Okay. So if you're interested in parts 1, 2, and 3, that is the psychic protection portion, SRT 1 and SRT 2. And thank you to Chantal. Thank you very much. Thank you to Charisse for dropping the links for me. That is my website. All the stuff is up there under courses. So you are hitting buttons. So if there's any questions, feel free to message me privately. But it's all up on my website, astrallara.com. That is where all the details and everything is. And if you can't make it live, which I completely understand, because some people will probably work Friday. Sorry, I have to give Sundays off to my little guy. So Sunday, that's why I had to do it Friday and Saturday. So if you miss Friday, like if you're working and you only come Saturday, don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. You can always just review part 1 with the recording because you're going to get the recording for both 1 and 2. None of them have to be done live. None of them. Not even part 2 has to be done live. You're going to be reviewing a lot of stuff in part 2. Okay. Part 2 is really intensive, in depth, especially if you want to be a medium in doing a part 2. This is why it's taken a couple months for our mediums to be certified. But when it comes to making sure that our mediums are going to do the job properly, we don't mess around. So that's why we take several months more certifying the mediums. They sit in and do practice sessions with the certified mediums, etc., that sort of thing. So this is it's a really in-depth mediumship school as well. So just take that into consideration. So for those of you who are interested in mediumship portion, but you don't really know if you're going to be able to do that yet, you get warmed up as a facilitator in order to become a medium later on. That's how it's working for me. My mediumship abilities came online like crazy by sitting in on sessions and working with the soul guides because their high frequency is helping my frequency come up faster. But at the same time, I love being a facilitator. I absolutely love it. It feels like a conductor in a symphony. That's what it feels like to me. And I love that. So I get to kind of send the troops where they need to go. I'm the one that kind of chooses where to send the SWAT. And that is fun and exciting for me. So I love it. So if some of you may even just enjoy being a facilitator and not even want to be a medium yet, and that's perfectly fine. So, and in fact, in my opinion, being both a medium and a facilitator, I think a really good medium makes the fantastic facilitator. So, because you get to ask extra questions, more insight will pop in, and things that you might have missed, like finding a sneaky lizard hiding under somebody's car, you could be like, hey, to the medium, did you get the lizard under the car? And they're like, hey, good job, well spotted. Is the facilitator required for part 2? So facilitators are the ones that go through all of the protocols. They're the ones that keep an eye on the mediums. They're the ones that kind of protect the medium. They make sure they're not going too far down rabbit holes. It's very easy to be distracted in a clearing because you're seeing all kinds of stuff. You can go into their past life stuff. it's very easy to kind of distract yourself or fall down little rabbit holes in regards to clearing. So the medium listens to the facilitator as the facilitator is directing the clearing. So yeah, it's a facilitator is a very, very important role. In fact, I mean, some mediums prefer to do it without a facilitator. I'm honestly at the point where I wouldn't want to. There's so much good that comes from having somebody who's there to kind of keep an eye on the situation and to kind of lead. And also, can you imagine like having to like tune in, find an answer, pull out, type it in, go back in? You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine how much of a pain in the ass it would be to write reports as a medium if you didn't have a facilitator. But to each their own. Carolyn says, I love going into the storybook rabbit hole in the clearing. I love it when you do too, Carolyn. In fact, Carolyn and I are often sipping tea as we go into somebody's Akashic record. We're like, so what's going on with the past life stuff? What happened here? I think it's more fun to work in teams personally. It's like the highlight of my day to sit down with my friends and do this work. And we giggle about it and we learn all kinds of exciting things and we ask the soul guides questions and oh yeah, we have a ball while we're doing clearings as a team. In fact, you know, when we do group clearings are even more so my favorite because there's all kinds of stuff that we can do as a group that you can't do as an individual. So we have big, big plans for the future as our groups get bigger. Carolyn says it's my social life these days. Anyway, I've just been rambling the last few minutes. If anybody else has any final questions in regards to training, feel free to reach out to us and let me know. There is going to be a sign up for SRT2, but I'm going to wait until after this weekend to do it. So Monday, you'll be able to sign up for SRT2. If there's any other questions in regards to training, let me know. There will be closed captions on there. You will get the recording within about 24 hours. So there's all kinds of exciting things that are going to be happening. So if you guys have anything that you want to know, let me know. And cool. Lots of love, everybody. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And I will see you all soon. Mwah. See you Monday. Bye, everyone.